Um, Chris, I don't know if you had this planned, but it's kind of like what we're talking about right now. Do you want to cover the law of diminishing returns?
Yeah. I think we were talking a little bit about it, but
Yeah, we kind of dabbled in a little bit in like
yeah.
the arrow building.
So diminishing returns is once you pass a certain point, you're getting no additional benefit, right? And the case in point being, and I'll just leave it up here because we have 83.7 as a kinetic energy, right? If it takes, let's say it takes a kinetic energy of 42 to get through a deer, right? And it takes a kinetic energy of 75 to get through one shoulder and still pass through. And it takes a kinetic energy of 90 to get through both shoulders and still have a full pass through. After you pass a kinetic energy of 90, all you're doing is slowing the arrow down because you're getting no additional benefit. That's diminishing returns because you're already at the point that no matter what you hit on that animal, you're gonna go through it. Now all you're doing is just slowing the arrow down and technically not getting any benefit for it because you're already passing through. I see this a lot. I've had cases where somebody comes and they're like, you know, I want to build a 750 grain arrow. Okay. And I wouldn't even forget this. He had an older bow, had an IBO of 315. He was shooting 60 pounds and he had a draw length of 26.5 inches. Okay. So if we kind of go over some of the math that we had there, if we take the draw length and we say, all right, he has 315 as his starting point. That's the fastest that bow can go if it was at 70 and 30. But it's at 60. So we're going to take 20 feet per second off. We're down to 295, right? That bow was losing 10 feet per second because it's really inefficient, especially all the way down at 26.5 when it went out to 31. So we're going to take 10 feet per second off per inch. So we're taking another 35 off that number, right? So we're at 260. So now, before he puts any additional arrow weight into that bow, he's at 260 feet per second starting. So now every 3 grains over 350, he's losing a foot per second for every 3 grains. And he wants to go 400 grains over the 350, right? There is a point that he hits there. So he's losing over 100 foot per second. He's going to lose 130, let's say 130 foot per second. He's down to a speed of 130 feet per second. He is shooting in the range of a recurve with a compound bow.
Potentially even slower.
Yes. So again, you're going to have incredible momentum, incredible kinetic energy for the first 15 feet or the first 15 yards. But A, you have no pin gap. B, after you fly a certain distance, the arrow's slowing down because that's what vanes do. The vanes are technically drag on the arrow to spin it and stabilize it. But at a certain point when the arrow is going slow enough, it has a parachute effect and it slows the arrow down further. So, and then that arrow is going so slow that you're going to be able to see an arc at 10 yards, right? that arrow is a perfect example of diminishing returns, right? At 500 grains, he would have been able to pass through anything that he was ever going to hunt in our area. But he wanted to build something that really was more in the range of Cape buffalo and African animal, right? Two things that I bring up a lot: white-tailed deer are very quick. I'm not sure exactly what they react to, whether it's the sound of the release, the sound of the bow, the sound of the veins, but I'm sure everybody has seen videos or looked it up on white-tailed deer ducking arrows, right? If you have an arrow that's slow, there is a very good chance at 20 yards you're going to get ducked. Now, I know everybody says that it's a lot quieter because the bow's not making noise and it's transferring the energy to it. Again, the broadhead that's probably going to be on there is going to make noise. Veins are going to make noise. And I say this, most releases make noise. So more than likely there's something that they're going to react to, even if they catch your movement when the bow goes off, the arm falls down, they're going to react to it. You have to be really close and you have to hope that they don't duck. That's a point where you're starting to hit a diminishing return because you've already exceeded what the animal needs to even go through two shoulders, and now you're just killing off speed. And I'll say, if that's what you want to do, and you want to build an arrow that'll literally go through anything, even if the deer start wearing Kevlar, be my guest. But like I said, it's, you're starting to trade things off where, and I don't know how comfortable some guys are shooting at distances, but your effective distance is decreased also. I know I'll probably catch a little flack for it because I've done it, but I've shot deer at 58, 59 yards. So I've taken some far shots at deer. If I was real heavy on the arrow, it wouldn't have worked. I think the arrow was 460 grains, 60 yards, full pass through. So does that make sense on diminishing returns? You guys got any questions, any insights? I'm open to it.
No, kind of just to piggyback off of what you said there, Chris, I went down the wormhole, but not to the extreme, like weights of arrows, like nothing over 600 grains. And I just really wanted to build something that was more like a 50 cal bullet. And everything that you pretty much said, I saw in my own experiences. Your effectiveness at longer ranges, as far as your trajectory being tighter, definitely plays a very, very large role. And you're just losing speed. At what point is it even worth it for the amount of speed that you're losing? So yeah, I totally saw that in my own testing.
So one of the nice things with this program, here's the ballistics on the trajectory, right? And it's saying that like my maximum point is at 16 yards. From 16 to 25 yards at this speed, I think it was it 298? We're looking at 1.5 inches of drop, right? So let me go back to my spine match. I'm going to say, okay, let's look at something. And just because I want to get that arrow weight up, I'm going to say 300 grains up front, right? So we're at 650. Now I go back to my ballistics. Oh, I got to go over here to my setup. I'm gonna go to arrow specs and we're gonna say, all right, 300 greens up front, right? Database. We're gonna apply that. And we're gonna go look at that ballistics again. And already, and this is a much faster bow. We're now at 3. So we're losing. This is now, it's from 15 to 25. My max point being at 15. And I'm losing a little over 3 inches of drop. Right. And again, this is a bow that is maxed out as far as being at the 30 inches and having a little over 70 pounds. You know, if I take it down to, you know, let's say 28 inches and 60, we'll even go 65 pounds, right? I look at my ballistics. No, I gotta go back into here. So we'll go down to 28 and 65. And now we're a touch over 4 inches on that same gap already. And it's not just that fall rate, but you know, we look at those speed, we get back to that speed, and 640 grain arrow at 28 inches and 65 pounds is right around 230 feet per second. You know, so again, like there's a lot of trade-off